My name is Erik. I use he, him pronouns. I'm 20. I'm from Cleveland. Being trans, I'm a trans man. Being trans is already a very odd experience. It's not something that you understand unless you're also trans. It's something that's very, in a way, exclusionary. It feels really weird to be a part of a community that is so small, even globally. But to be trans and then also be in foster care is a whole different story. It's so weird, for the longest time, I couldn't start testosterone at all. I wasn't even allowed to have hormone blockers. And there are so many things that go into it. I wasn't allowed to room with boys for my own safety, which I understand. I understand why that rule is in place. It makes sense. But if there were to be another person in the foster home, another foster child, and they were to be a girl, I would end up having to share my room with them, which would not make me comfortable. I don't feel comfortable having to share a room with a girl, and I know that a girl would not feel comfortable sharing a room with me. It's not something that feels great, especially when you think about being the other person in that situation. You don't feel comfortable sharing a room with someone that you know is a different identity than you. To be a woman and then have to share a room with a man, to have to share a bedroom with a man, to have to sleep in the same room as a man, and a man you don't know, and you're a minor, you're a child, that has to be the most uncomfortable experience I can imagine. And I know for me, I was uncomfortable because I knew that they were uncomfortable. It's a really weird experience. It feels like they just don't have any knowledge. It was really, really difficult. I felt very alone. I felt very isolated. I felt like I wasn't being listened to by not just my social workers, but also by the people higher up. I just didn't feel respected. I didn't feel cared about. I was trying to stop my estrogen, and I was trying to stop the female secondary sex characteristics from further developing. And I wasn't even allowed to have, a hormone blocker because it was such a debated topic when it's just basic, regular care. It's not even gender affirming care. They could have just given me a birth control pill that wasn't estrogen based. And I was always on the offense. I was always fighting for my rights. This is what I want. I know that this is what I need. I know that this is what's good for me. I've done years of research. I know what I'm talking about. This is something I've learned about because I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to do something that I think is right for me and then years later go, oh, that was an awful decision. And I'm on testosterone now. I think that's obvious just looking at me. But I'm the happiest I've ever been. But even that, I could only start testosterone until I was already 18. I was out of foster care already. And it was such a long process. It's so important to bring issues like this, even if they are niche and small, to higher levels of government and legal and justice systems. Because even if we're a small minority or a tiny part of the population, we still exist. I need respect just as much as anyone else does, and I need to be respected in these places like foster care. We matter even if you don't see us every day. We matter even if we're not an active part of your life. We matter even if you despise us. It doesn't matter how you feel about another group of people. They still exist and they still deserve basic human rights. For youth especially, we're still going through a lot of developmental stages. My brain isn't even fully done baking in my Chrome. I'm still cooking up here. But we are a lot more intelligent than people will usually give us credit for. We know things about ourselves as we are growing up, as we're aging, as we're developing, as we're maturing. For me to go, I know who I am. I know I am young, and I know who I am. And then for someone older than me to go, no, you don't. You don't know what you're talking about. You aren't as knowledgeable as I am. You don't know as much as I do about an experience I don't understand, an experience that I haven't had. It's very demeaning and it's disrespectful. I wouldn't discredit anybody else's experience on who they are and the things that they've gone through, the situations they've lived through. So why would you do that to me just because I'm younger than you are? An identity is just all the facets of your personality. I have so many. I am trans, and I'm also a trans gay man. That makes a new part of my identity, and I'm also, You know, I'm Portuguese, I'm black, I'm not a religious person, but I used to be very religious as a child. There are just so many things, you know, like being of a lower economic, like socioeconomic class as well is a part of my personality. Every little thing that people don't think about is something that makes you who you are.